What's up, guys? In this video I am going to show you the process of cleaning a 1911 pistol. This is my Tisas 1911 A1. This is basically a replica of the gun carried by the US military for so long, especially during World War II, of course this being the A1 model. And it is just a very nice firearm. If you have been a follower of my channel, you've seen this gun in another video, and of course it is one that is an absolute classic. Of course, even though it's a new gun, this is just a classic gun. The 1911 design is the most copied design in firearms history, and this is just one of many that are out there on the market. What we're going to do here is I'm basically going to show you the cleaning process for a 1911. Also, guys, the first step in cleaning any firearm is to always make sure it is unloaded. So we're going to drop the magazine. You can see that there is nothing in the magazine. We're going to open the action. Make sure that there is nothing in the chamber. As you can see, we are clear. So with that being said, we're going to put the safety on just to make sure that the gun is safe, as well as to keep the slide locked as we try to take the barrel bushing out and the recoil spring. Of course, with a 1911, this is a traditional model. It has the traditional GI button, as it is called. Some models you will need to use the tool. Others you can manipulate this by using your hand. It's just really up to you. For most of my 1911s, I am able to get them taken down without using the tool, but I do have a couple of models that are stiff enough to where the tool is required. What I'm going to do is I'm going to depress this button down below the barrel bushing, and then I am going to rotate the barrel bushing. Now you want to make sure that you keep this pointed away from you, because when that comes out of there, it's going to want to come out very fast. There's a lot of tension on that. So now that I have the barrel bushing rotated, I'm going to ease the spring and the button out, okay? Just like that. Now that I have that loose, I can go ahead and pull this out if I would like. Set it there. And of course, this being a new gun, it does not have any usage as of yet. However, I do want to go ahead and just go through it, clean it up, and make sure that it is good to go. You can see there the barrel bushing where I have pulled the recoil spring and guide rod out. What I want to do now, I'm going to rotate that the opposite direction. I'm going to rotate it fully counterclockwise until it stops. At that point, I can wiggle it a bit and I can pull the barrel bushing up out of the frame, just like so. We'll set that off to the side. I do feel a little grit on the components of this firearm already. Now that I have got that out of the way, I'm going to disengage the safety, and I want you to pay attention to this notch right here on the side of the gun. Okay, what you want to do, you want to pull this back until the notch lines up here with your slide lock. Okay, now this gun is a little bit tight, so I am having just a bit of trouble doing that. There we go. Okay, there again. It's a new firearm, guys, so I'm not surprised. Okay, I want to line this up just like this. You can see that little divot in the slide is now lined up with the slide lock. On the opposite side of this firearm, you see this little button here. I'm going to push that through, and just to give you a better view of it, when I push up on that, that's going to lift up out of the way. So I'm just going to grab it, wiggle it on out, and pull it up from the firearm. Now the other half of our recoil or our guide rod is still within the gun, so when you slide the slide off of the frame, be sure to capture that. You're going to see it come out just here in just a second. Okay, you can actually see it caught right here in the frame and the slide. So we're going to set that out of the way. Here is our barrel. I'm going to flip our link forward, and then I am now going to just push the barrel out of the frame just like so. Okay, now we have our 1911 disassembled and ready for cleaning. You know, as I mentioned earlier, guys, this is a new gun, but it is one that I wanted to go ahead and go through, give it a good cleaning, because I can feel some grittiness in it. Okay, so the first thing that I like to do is use some type of a solvent, whether it is rim oil, ballistol, just whatever your favorite solvent is. We're going to go ahead, give the barrel a spritz, just like that. Set it down. I'm going to go ahead and give a spritz on the frame rails and just all of the components, okay, just like so. Because I want to clean off some of that grime that is obviously on this gun. Okay, and again, guys, if you are needing some cleaning supplies, I will put links down in the description of this video. And of course, the spring, I typically don't use solvents on the spring. However, since this is a new gun, just because of some of the grit that I'm feeling, I'm going to give it a little spritz too. Okay, I'll then take a brush. You can use an old toothbrush. I like these nylon tip brushes here. They're a little stiffer than a regular toothbrush. You want to make sure that you clean those rails real good. Just scrub through all of the individual components, both sides of this, just to make sure that there is nothing built up in there. This is especially true after you've been shooting the gun a while, but of course, this being new, I think the only rounds put through it were fired at the factory, and since then it's just been sitting in a box. You can see just a little bit of stuff right there, a little bit of buildup. Now, one thing I like to do as well, take a Q-tip. This is something that a lot of people don't do. Take a Q-tip, get up in those rails real good, and you can see there just some buildup. Not a lot, but again, get it cleaned out. And you can see a little more on this side. So let's go ahead and get us another Q-tip and get back in that rail and get all of that mess out. Okay, because the cleaner that you have this, the less contamination there is inside that slide rail, the better off you're going to be. Okay. Just go through different parts of the frame just to make sure that we have all of that cleaned out. Also want to do the same thing with the slide. I can take my brush, the small side of the brush, I can use it to get up inside that rail, just like so. Get it both sides, clean in there, clean that rail. You don't want to really get any solvents or anything in where your firing pin is. You want to keep that dry. Now, something that you want to pay attention to with all of your guns when you clean them, and that's going to be the breech face and the ejector. Okay, you can see this little hook right here. I'm going to use the brush, kind of point at it right there. You see that little hook? That's what's going to go over and capture the case of your round. Okay, if you get contamination behind that shell ejector, it's not going to be able to grip that round well, and it can cause you some ejection issues. So just take your brush, scrub through there real good, just to make sure that you have it cleaned out. It's not coming through on camera as clear as I would like for it to, but you can see right there. Okay, there it is, just right there, the tip where my brush is. Okay, so make sure that you get underneath there cleaned very well. Of course, this gun is not very dirty, but let's go ahead and get us another Q-tip. Get up in those rails. Okay, you can see there is just a little bit of buildup in there, but not much. Get the other side. And guys, again, if you are interested in one of these, check out the link down in the description. These guns are kind of hard to find around here. They have been sold out every time one of the stores gets one in locally. They sell pretty quickly. So You know, they're very popular. Of course, this is a Series 70. If you guys are familiar with what a Series 70 is, let me know down in the comments below. I've got other videos on my channel to where I actually show you how you can identify the difference between a Series 70 and Series 80 pistol. This is one that is as close to the one carried by GIs as you can get, in my opinion. Of course, the guide rod, this little thing here, we'll just go ahead and wipe it off. We'll go ahead and wipe off the spring where we had put some solvent in it earlier. Okay, and the reason that I sprayed the barrel and let it set is because your barrel is where you're going to get most of your carbon buildup at. And spraying it down, letting that solvent set and letting it have time to work is going to really help to make sure that all of those deposits get cleaned out, you know, that get broken up real easy. Okay, so I'm just going to run the brush through there just like that. Okay, you can run a patch through there as well. Since this is a new gun, I don't see really a need to. Of course, there's nothing really come out on the brush either. And of course, you know, you can go over it with another dose of solvent, which we'll just give it another quick spritz. Run the brush through that again. And you also want to inspect the gun when you're cleaning it. You want to go through the barrel especially, look to see if there's any cracking, any kind of bulging or anything like that. And if so, if you ever have a barrel where there's a crack or anything like that, stop using it immediately. Okay, that is dangerous because that barrel's getting ready to go. Okay, make sure that our link is in as good as it should be. And once you get everything cleaned, you can use, you know, CLP, that's what this stuff is here. And you can also use just a regular oil just to oil it. And that's something that I will do occasionally, is I'll take just a good gun oil and oil everything. It does not take a lot, but some of the key areas you want to get, of course, is just a couple of drops there, a little more than necessary. Okay, just work that back. Go on the other side. Put a couple drops, get that up in the slides good, and the rails. It does not take a lot, but it's a good idea to get a decent amount of lube. You want to make sure that it's good and covered, okay? And it's going to get distributed more as you put the slide onto the gun and you know, operate that action. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and take the slide. I'm going to set it on here. I'm just going to work it back and forth just a bit. That way, okay, just like that. And this really gives you a good indication as well on what the fitment is. Okay, there's not a lot of rattle in this gun. There's very little give. I mean, I can obviously feel just a bit, but not much at all. You know, it's very good tolerance on that. Okay. Okay, now that we have that done, another place that I like to put a little bit of lube on the frame is back here where the hammer, where the pivot pin is for the hammer. So we'll just take a drop there. And it's easy to criticize some folks, especially me, for using a little bit too much lube, which really a 1911 likes to be lubed. They like to be a little bit wet. And, you know, so I have no problem with it. Okay, no problem with keeping it clean, keeping it just a little bit wet, especially if I'm not going to shoot one for a while. I will leave them just a little bit wet. Okay, just like that. Now that we have the frame oiled up a bit, the slide itself, of course, where I slid it onto the rails, you know, we got lubrication distributed inside them rails, but I do want to also add just a very little bit right here. Okay, just a drop, that's all it takes. And the reason for that, this is what's going to be sliding over part of that frame, part of your hammer, and that sort of thing right here. So we want to keep all those mating surfaces on a 1911 lubed up. We don't want to get things or any oil up in where that firing pin is, as I'd mentioned earlier, but we do want to have all of the mating surfaces oiled. And I know in the camera that looks like a lot, but you know, that will be just fine. You know, it's not a lot there. The other area is going to be where the lugs down in the bottom here, I want to put just a drop in here as well. Doesn't take much. Work that around. Okay, just like so. Now, next step in the process, I'm going to take my barrel, and I like to put just a little oil on the outside of the barrel, because you've got the barrel bushing and everything that's going to be sliding across this barrel. You've got the, of course, the lugs, which we've already oiled the frame just a bit. You've got this link. We want to make sure that we do get a little bit of lubrication there on that link as well. And that pin, that way it is free to move the way that it should. Just like so. Once we get a little bit of oil on that, I'm actually going to take my barrel and my slide. I'm going to slide the barrel back into position on the slide, just like that. Here's my barrel bushing. I'm going to go ahead and put just a little bit of oil, just a drop of oil on it as well. Distribute that out around. And that way, when I put it back in, now you've got your barrel bushing, and basically what you're going to do with it is you're going to put it back into position. You want it turned in the full clockwise position, or I should say counterclockwise, and then once you get it installed, rotate it over to the clockwise position, just like that. Okay, that way it cannot come out. And I'm going to take my slide, or my recoil pin and spring, my recoil, my guide rod, recoil spring. I'm going to go ahead, slip it back into the frame, slip the spring back over it, just like so, just like that. I'm going to make sure that I have that link pushed forward, just like that. Now you can put the cap on, or you can wait. Right now I'm just going to wait. What I'm going to do now is take my frame, I'm going to turn it upside down. This is just how I do it. It seems to work out for me quite well. I'm going to line the frame on the slide back up, just like that. Now look through this hole. Now that I've got this started, what I want to do is I want to slide this on up, and I want to find that link. Okay, right there is the link. When I rotate this upside down, or right side up, you can see now that link is dropped down, and I should be able to take my slide stop and put it through there. Now, one thing that I want to make sure that I do, I'm also going to put just a dab of oil on my slide stop. Okay, 1911s, as I'd mentioned, they like to be just a little bit wet. Now that we have that through there, I'm going to insert the slide stop into the frame, and I want to make sure that it is in the right position. So I can't push it off of the frame no longer, but I can slide it back. So we should be in the right position. Now this is where you're going to want to take some care. You've always seen 1911s where they will have that idiot scratch, basically right here on the frame. The way that you can avoid that, taking care, taking time, and of course, let me go ahead and wipe some of that excess off, just so we can see just a bit. That slide, that notch that's in the slide, I want to make sure that I get it centered back up. I want to rotate my slide stop around. You want to make sure that you don't scratch that frame. Okay, keep it up off of the frame, line it up with that notch, just like so. And every gun is going to be a little bit different. I have some that are very difficult at this point in time, and I guess we're about to find out how this one's going to be. Okay, if I have that lined up properly, I put my thumb on this slide stop right back here where it's going to be in, and I'm going to put it right here on the front as well, and then I'm going to push straight in. Just like that. That one went in very nicely. Like I had mentioned, I have other 1911s, and that is very difficult to do. Okay, now I have that back into position. I have my slide stop back into position. I'm going to slide the slide as far forward as it will go, and I'm going to engage the safety. Okay, now I'm going to rotate the firearm back up just like this. Here is my cap. Okay, this is where you need to be cautious again, having that spring. And just there again, guys, I'm just going to put a dab of oil on the cap just like so. Make sure it's well lubed. I'm going to put it over the spring just like this. And now we've got to press this down into the gun, making sure that we don't let it fly out and go across the room, come up and hit you in the eye or whatever. You know, this spring is under a lot of tension, so use your hand. It's a good idea. The way that I do it is I'll cup my hand around it, my other hand. As I'm pushing down, that kind of helps me to guide the spring, guide the cap down into position. Keep your other hand over it, okay? Don't uncover this until you get it down and get the barrel bushing into position. Okay, you're going to need to work your hand around to where it's just on the edge of that button and work on getting that barrel bushing back into place. You can see here I have it captured by the barrel bushing. Okay, so just a little bit more. I'm going to push down on that again, finish rotating that back up into position, and right now it is very close. In fact, if I push this over just like so, you can see that it snaps right into place. Okay, we have now reassembled our 1911, but we're not done. What we need to do now is we want to function test it. I am going to cycle the action on the gun, and it feels much smoother now that I've got some of that grit out, got a little bit of oil on it. Okay, again, making sure that we are not loaded. It's real easy to accidentally load one of these guns if you are someone that constantly handles firearms, so that's why you want to make sure you keep ammunition out of the area. Now then, I want to make sure that my safety works, so with safety engaged, press the trigger, nothing happens. Okay, I'm going to disengage that safety. I'm going to keep my hand off of the grip safety, and I'm going to press the trigger. Okay, my grip safeties work. I'm going to grip the firearm. I'm going to press and hold the trigger. The hammer fell. I'm holding the trigger. What I want to do now, I want to cycle that action just like that. I want to release the trigger at this point and listen for a click. Okay, I heard the click. That tells me that the gun should function fine. Again, press the trigger, hammer falls. Just like that. Okay, works great, works fine. Okay, it's a good idea as well. Something I like to do is wipe down the outside of the gun with oil. Does not take a lot, but you know, the more you take care of your firearms, the longer they're going to last you. Okay, and these things are not cheap. And I say that, and this is what would be considered a budget 1911, but guys, I'm telling you, this is a great firearm, especially for the money, especially if you are wanting a 1911. Okay, just wipe it down with oil, and you are ready for the range. You're ready to put it up, just whatever you'd like to do. But guys, I hope you liked the video. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. It is a great gun. Guys, thanks for watching. Check out the rest of the videos on my channel. Check out all the links down below, and we'll see you next time.